It was a Tuesday, January 29, 2025. The skies above Washington, D.C. were a crisp, clear blue. The kind of day that makes you want to be outside. But for 67 people, this seemingly ordinary day would end in unimaginable tragedy. At approximately 3:42 p.m., a U.S. military Black Hawk helicopter collided with American Airlines Flight 5342. The impact occurred over the icy waters of the Potomac River, just moments after the jetliner took off from Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. The helicopter, on a routine training mission, was reduced to a mangled web of metal. The jetliner, bound for Los Angeles, plunged into the frigid river. The crash sent shockwaves across the nation. How could this happen? The collision served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unforgiving nature of aviation accidents. As investigators began to piece together the puzzle of what went wrong, the nation mourned the loss of 67 souls. The death toll was staggering: 67 people, 60 passengers and 4 crew members aboard American Airlines Flight 5342. 3 soldiers in the Black Hawk helicopter, each a life cut short, families shattered, futures erased. The victims represented a cross-section of America: business travelers, families returning home from vacation, a group of young figure skaters on their way to a competition, and the dedicated soldiers who had sworn an oath to protect their country. The scale of the tragedy was difficult to comprehend. As news of the crash spread, a collective sense of grief and disbelief settled over the nation. The crash served as a stark reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. For the families and loved ones left behind, the pain was immeasurable. Among the victims were a group of 28 members of the U.S. figure skating community. They were en route to Los Angeles for a national competition. Their dreams and aspirations ended tragically in the icy waters of the Potomac. Also lost was a charismatic flight attendant, known for her infectious smile and dedication to her passengers. She had worked for American Airlines for over 2 decades. One passenger was a prominent civil rights attorney who had dedicated his life to fighting for social justice. His work had made a lasting impact on countless lives. The president-elect of the National Association of Biology Teachers was also on board. He was a beloved educator who had inspired generations of students. Each life lost represented a unique story, a universe of experiences, dreams, and aspirations. Their absence left a void in the hearts of those who knew and loved them. As investigators began to probe the cause of the crash, one of the first questions they focused on was altitude. Why were the helicopter and the jetliner at the same altitude in the same airspace? Preliminary data revealed a troubling discrepancy. The Potomac TRACON, responsible for tracking aircraft in the area, had the helicopter at an altitude of approximately 300 feet. However, the airport tower radar placed the helicopter at a much lower altitude of 200 feet. Adding to the confusion, the commercial jet's flight data recorder indicated that the plane was cruising at an altitude of 325 feet at the time of the collision. These conflicting altitude readings raised serious concerns about the accuracy of air traffic control data and the potential for human error. Investigators were determined to get to the bottom of these discrepancies. Section 5. The ADS-B Mystery. Another key area of focus for investigators was the helicopter's use of ADS-B technology. ADS-B, or Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast, is a system that allows aircraft to transmit their position, altitude, and speed to ground stations and other aircraft. The use of ADS-B is considered a critical safety enhancement, particularly in congested airspace. However, it was unclear whether the Black Hawk helicopter involved in the collision was equipped with or actively using ADS-B technology. During a Senate briefing on the investigation, senators provided conflicting comments on the matter. Some stated that the helicopter was not equipped with ADS-B, while others claimed that it was unclear whether the system was active at the time of the crash. This uncertainty surrounding the helicopter's ADS-B usage only added to the complexity of the investigation. Determining whether the helicopter was transmitting its position accurately was crucial to understanding the chain of events that led to the collision. Section 6. One controller, too many aircraft. As investigators delved deeper into the circumstances surrounding the crash, a disturbing fact emerged. The air traffic controller responsible for the airspace over the Potomac River was handling both helicopter and airplane traffic alone. Typically, this task would be divided between two controllers. One controller would manage the helicopter traffic, while the other would focus on airplane traffic. However, on the day of the crash, a single controller was responsible for both. This heavy workload placed immense pressure on the controller and raised concerns about the potential for human error. Investigators were looking into whether the controller was adequately trained and supported to handle such a demanding workload. The investigation into the air traffic control procedures was still ongoing, but the preliminary findings suggested that the controller was overburdened and that this may have contributed to the tragic collision. Section 7. Black boxes and wreckage. In the aftermath of the crash, a massive recovery effort was launched to locate the wreckage and retrieve the flight data recorders, often referred to as black boxes. These recorders contained a wealth of information that could help investigators understand what happened in the moments leading up to the collision. Divers from the Navy and Coast Guard worked tirelessly in the frigid waters of the Potomac. They faced challenging conditions, including poor visibility and strong currents. But they persevered, knowing that every piece of wreckage, every bit of data, could be crucial to the investigation. After days of searching, both flight data recorders and cockpit voice recorders were recovered from the wreckage. The black boxes were immediately transported to a secure facility for analysis. Meanwhile, the painstaking process of recovering the wreckage continued. All major wreckage pieces were eventually recovered from the riverbed. They were transported to a secure hangar where investigators would meticulously examine them for clues. Section 8. The Long Road to Answers. The investigation into the Black Hawk collision was a massive undertaking involving multiple agencies and organizations. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, took the lead, with support from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, the Department of Defense, and other agencies. The NTSB launched a comprehensive investigation, focusing on wreckage analysis, flight data, air traffic control procedures, and human factors. Investigators were determined to leave no stone unturned in their quest for answers. The FAA, in response to the crash, took immediate action to enhance safety. They reduced traffic at Reagan National Airport and indefinitely suspended most helicopter routes over the Potomac River. They also initiated a review of other airports with high volumes of mixed air traffic. On February 6, 2025, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science and Transportation held a briefing to receive an update on the investigation's progress. Senators grilled officials from the NTSB and FAA, demanding answers and accountability. Section 9. A defining moment in aviation. The Black Hawk collision was a tragedy of immense proportions. It served as a stark reminder of the inherent risks of aviation and the importance of constant vigilance, but it was also a defining moment for the aviation industry. The investigation, while still ongoing, had already revealed systemic issues that needed to be addressed. From conflicting altitude readings to the overburdened air traffic controller, the crash exposed vulnerabilities that had the potential to lead to future accidents. The tragedy sparked a national conversation about aviation safety and the need for reform. Lawmakers, regulators, and industry leaders were under pressure to take action to prevent a similar tragedy from happening again. The Black Hawk collision was a watershed moment. It forced the aviation industry to confront uncomfortable truths and to recommit itself to the highest standards of safety. The lessons learned from this tragedy would shape the future of aviation for years to come. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more updates.